Hey y'all, today we're making just add water biscuits from a jar. Okay, so I made this particular biscuit recipe. This is my freezer biscuit recipe, and I made this on the channel, I don't know, a month or two, a couple of weeks. I don't know. Time is, I can't remember what I did yesterday, y'all. But somebody in the comments asked me if you could make it like a just add water version, if you could use heavy whipping cream powder in this. So I thought, surely you can. So I decided to give it a try. Now, I did have to play around with this a little bit, so I'll tell you what I did when we get there. But what you're going to add to your jar is 2 cups of self-rising flour. Some of y'all freak out because I had Great Value flour one time, and I'm not real sure why, but it's irrelevant, doesn't matter. Use whatever kind of self-rising flour you like, or you can make some yourself. So then you're going to add to this your heavy cream powder. We're going to add 3/4 of a cup of the heavy cream powder. And I got mine off of Amazon. I'll link it for y'all in case you are looking for some. I've never seen it sold locally in my area, but I also haven't really looked that hard for it either. So add 3/4 of a cup of your heavy whipping cream powder to your jar. And that's it. That is all you need for a biscuit mix in a jar, okay? Now you can put that on your shelf and it's good as long as your heavy cream powder is good, okay? So when you're going to make these, now this is where I had to play around with this a lot. If you're making this from the regular recipe, you add 2 cups of flour and 1.5 cups of heavy whipping cream. I tried this with the same amount of liquid, so 1.5 cups of water. Does not work. It turns into a soup. It's way too much water. So what I ended up doing, again, I played around with the amounts a little bit. So I ended up adding the 2 cups of self-rising flour and a total of 3/4 of a cup of water. And this ended up, in my opinion, being just about the perfect amount. Now, of course, if you're in, different elevations and humidity and all those things sometimes can play a part in this. So, if you tried and 3/4 of a cup is, it's just so dry you can't do anything with it, add just a tiny bit more water. If you make it and you feel like it's too loose, it's like too wet, then don't add quite as much. But 3/4 is what worked for me, so that's what I'm going with. So you're just going to mix this up really good until you get it completely combined. You want your flour and your heavy cream powder and your water all completely combined. So I will link my little dough whisk for y'all if y'all are looking for one of those. I use it when I do sourdough bread, but I figured out that any kind of dough I'm doing, that it just works so good to mix everything up. But you can mix this with a spoon, y'all, or a fork or whatever you have. You don't have to have one. But on the offhand chance you're looking for one, I will link it down below. And I will link the, not sour cream, heavy cream powder. And that way, if you're looking for some, you will at least kind of know where to start. So you're going to need to put some flour down on your counter. This, even if you make this the regular way, it is a sticky dough. So put down some flour and then you're just going to press this out and you're going to fold it in thirds. So fold that side over, and it was a little sticky. I added some more flour, and then you're going to fold the other side over. And you're just going to do this. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer to how many times you need to do it, but just do it a few times, 2, 3, 4, 12, however many times you want to do it. We're just kind of creating layers in these biscuits. Now, it's not going to be layers like what you would think of in a canned flaky layer biscuit. It's not like that, but this is just going to help these biscuits to rise up and be beautiful and wonderful. So just like I said, do it as many times as you want to do it. I don't ever count, so I don't know how many times I do it. But add more flour as needed. And some of y'all may be thinking, well, if you're having to add this much flour, you probably should have just added less water. And I could have, but because if you, like the heavy cream powder, if you look at the container, it tells you how to reconstitute it, which is one of the reasons I had to play around with the amount. But for this recipe, it doesn't work that way, weirdly. And you could just reconstitute the heavy cream powder with water, like in your refrigerator overnight, which is actually what they suggest you do. But I wanted to make this recipe something you could, in an emergency situation, maybe you don't have a refrigerator to reconstitute it overnight. I wanted to make sure that this was something we could pull out of the jar and make and feed our family in case of an emergency if we needed to, okay? And even if it's not an emergency situation, maybe you just want to do it for convenience. Whatever the reason behind it, I'm just letting you know this is how I did it. So, less water is what I had to do to make this recipe work. So you're just going to flatten out your dough once you've folded it however many times you're going to. Flatten out your dough to about 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick, just depending on how big you want them. They're going to rise pretty good in the oven. And then you're just going to cut them out. I'll link these biscuit cutters for y'all also. Well, they're cookie cutters, biscuit cutters, whatever. It's a set. It's a whole set of them. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 of them. They were pretty cheap on Amazon, and I use them all the time. So if you don't have one, I'll link it. But if you don't have one of these and you don't want one, cut them out with a cup. It doesn't make any difference. The only thing I will tell you is when you cut them out, go straight down when you're cutting them. Do not twist whatever you're cutting them with. If you twist them, then you're going to seal the sides of your biscuit potentially, and then that's going to keep your biscuits from rising, and we don't want that. The whole point is we want a big fluffy biscuit, right? So just because it's just me and I don't want to make 50 biscuits right now, I'm going to freeze some of these, and they work just like the regular ones from frozen. But of course, if you're doing this for an emergency situation, you're not going to be freezing them. So, but that's what I'm doing in case you're wondering why I have them on the parchment lined cookie sheet. So you can freeze them, like I said, you absolutely can. And then once I cut mine out, I ball the dough back up, and then I just keep going until I cut all of the biscuits out. You know, just keep going till you run out of dough. And if you have some wonky biscuits, that's okay. I always do, and sometimes those are the best ones. So those are going out of the way, and I'm going to cook the 3 little biscuits we have left down on the counter. I have a little silicone mat I'm throwing on this cookie sheet, and I'm just going to throw my biscuits on here. Now, I'm spreading them out when I'm putting them on here, but when I get ready to throw them in the oven, I do push them together because if their sides are touching, they rise better. So if you're cooking these fresh, 450 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 12 minutes. If you're going to cook them from frozen, 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 to 20 minutes, but check them after 10 minutes because, you may, cut yours thicker or thinner or whatever, and we don't want to burn our biscuits. So this is what they look like after they have baked. It's hot. I'm burning my fingerprints off for y'all, but I do it for y'all. I do it for y'all. But I wanted to show y'all the money shot. Look how soft and fluffy these biscuits are. And the only liquid we added was water, just our heavy cream powder. So this absolutely does work. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of who asked me the question, but it does work with heavy cream powder. These are our little biscuits. I hope that y'all enjoyed this video for just a little bit of an easier way to make a biscuit homemade, and I hope that y'all try these. All right, that is all I have for y'all today, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.